Alright, picture this. You find out the rarest snowflake in the Myers-Briggs blizzard, the INFJ, ain't just some quirky introvert with, big feelings. But maybe, just maybe, they're hanging out on the neurodivergent spectrum. Empathy's firing like a damn live wire. And the future, yeah, it's playing on repeat inside their heads. So tonight, we're ditching the cozy advocate label and asking the real question. What if your go-to counselor pal is running an autistic-style operating system in stealth mode? Buckle up, folks, because by the end of this, you're going to see why the INFJ brain might just belong in the same research papers as ADHD hyperfocus, autistic masking, and monotropism obsession. Alright, so first up, we got mirror neuron overdrive. Imagine you're just walking, right? And you pass some schmo with a bum ankle, and suddenly you feel a freaking stab in your own leg. That's your empath mirror neuron system going nuts. And get this, it's the default setting for a lot of INFJs. Brainiacs are saying that hyper-responsive mirror neurons are linked to extreme affect sharing, which they also see in these so-called hyper-empathic autistic profiles. So, this constant visceral resonance, that's why INFJs flinch at violent movies, why they cry over the news, and why they literally absorb all the emotional junk in a room. The brain's treating other people's pain like it's actionable data, flooding the system with stress hormones like it's a freaking physical injury, one of the several markers experts flag as neurodivergent sensory affective coupling. Next up, let me tell you about something I like to call predictive pattern hyperfocus. So, inside the old INFJ cranium, right, you got introverted intuition running this endless Bayesian model thingy, hoovering up all these micro patterns and spitting out future probabilities. I mean, who needs a crystal ball, am I right? Functional MRI work on predictive coding. It shows similar neural loops in autistic participants who, get this, see the next frame before it even happens. The upside? Visionary leaps and uncanny gut calls. The downside? Zoning out of reality because the mind's too busy A/B testing timelines. Friends, they call it spaciness. Neuroscientists, they call it sticky or springy attention, a form of hyperfocus that resists toggling once it's locked on. Tough crowd, I tell you. Thirdly, we got sensory backlash loops, or as I like to call it, the SE grip storm. Under sustained stress, the INFJ's weakest function, that's extraverted sensing for you laymen, just slams the controls. Suddenly, this normally ethereal advocate is doom-scrolling at 3 a.m., binging neon-lit videos or just gagging at fabric textures. Clinicians record identical spikes of sensory overwhelm in autistic shutdowns, bright light headaches, texture aversion, and those charming get-everything-off-my-skin moments. What looks like dramatic moodiness is really just a nervous system in red alert, proving that inferior function hijacks can mimic sensory processing disorder symptom for symptom. Go figure. Fourth, semantic saturation and alexithymia light. Ever repeat a word till it just completely loses its meaning. INFJs, they'll tell you, sometimes their entire feelings just poof, lose their labels after these marathon empathy gigs. And get this, neurolinguistic studies link alexithymia, that's a difficulty naming your own internal hoo-ha, to overload in language hubs like the inferior frontal gyrus. So when an INFJ's like, I know something's off, but I can't put my finger on it, they ain't just being coy. Their verbal cortex has literally blown a fuse. Researchers, they've seen similar semantic fatigue in autistic folks, which suggests a shared bottleneck where emotion and language are both just waiting in line for the same neural bandwidth. Alright, fifthly, dream world scripting, see? Night, that's the INFJ's private R&D lab. Large-scale surveys, they reveal that intuitive types, they don't just recall dreams more vividly, but they mine them for metaphors and solutions at higher rates than senses. You combine that with a pattern-hungry NI, and you get morning journal pages that read like storyboard pitches. This REM phase data digging, it's a bona fide divergent workflow, problem-solving outsourced to the subconscious, then handed to waking consciousness as a eureka montage few colleagues ever see coming. Sixthly, mimetic masking. So, an INFJ, they can walk into a boardroom, right? And, get this, in 30 seconds flat, they're morphing their speech, their jokes, even how they stand to match whoever's calling the shots. Autism researchers, they call this camouflaging or masking. It's a social survival thing, swaps being real for getting a nod. But, long term, forget about it. You're looking at burnout, feeling like you're not even yourself. And this constant nagging question of who am I when nobody's looking? The comparison's so spot on that now some psychologists, they're screening these high empathy chameleons for autistic traits, citing like the exact same tiredness and identity crisis down the line. Seventhly, the old empathic burnout cycle. So, doctors treat adrenal fatigue in first responders, right? Well, INFJs can reach the same cortisol crash just by being everyone's emotional first aid station. I mean, come on. Psychiatrist Judith Orloff, she documents how unfiltered empathic load keeps the sympathetic nervous system on permanent standby, heart rate up, digestion down, resilience tanking. It's a physiologic echo of caregiver burnout observed in autistic hyperempaths, confirming that compassion has a metabolic price when mirror neurons never sleep. What a world, huh? Eighthly, monotropic passion tunnels. So you ever meet one of these INFJs in mission mode? Novels getting drafted in 30-day sprints, social justice projects run on like 3 hours of sleep, rabbit holes so deep Google sends snacks. Autism scholars call this monotropism, the mind's tendency to spotlight one or two consuming interests while the rest of life fades to grayscale. But get this, far from pathology, these passion tunnels breed expertise and, in many cases, social change. But they also mean burnout when the tunnel collapses, or external demands yank attention sideways. Ain't that a kick in the head? Alright, ninthly, we got context-splitting communication, or as I like to call it, the double empathy echo. So why do INFJs always feel like they're talking to a wall, even when they're laying down perfect English? Well, the double empathy problem, see, suggests that communication ain't failing because of the person, it's failing because of the wiring. INFJs, they're talking in like nested metaphors and unspoken subtext, right? And the neurotypical crowd? They're missing like 40% of the joke, labeling the speaker mystical or cryptic. Likewise, when INFJs meet someone who says what they mean, they're construing frankness as hostility. The mismatch proves that getting the message depends on shared cognitive wiring, not vocabulary size. Tenthly, paradox comfort zone. You know, most people, they hate contradictions. INFJs, we roast marshmallows over them. Research on dialectical thinking. It shows comfort with opposing truths correlates with creative problem solving and coping flexibility, all traits celebrated in neurodivergent leadership studies. The INFJ simultaneously holds logical analysis and gut-level empathy, introversion and public speaker charisma, and they call confused, our brains. They just run on a broader bandwidth, making room for the messy both and realities that tomorrow's problems. They'll demand it. So next time someone tells you Myers-Briggs is just a parlor game, ask them why peer-reviewed journals keep stumbling over autistic-style empathy loops, ADHD class hyperfocus, sensory processing spikes, and dialectical cognition inside the very profile that shows up last in the population stats. Maybe the INFJ isn't a mythical unicorn after all. Maybe they're a well-documented neurological remix, reminding us that different brains often write tomorrow's blueprints. If you've seen yourself in these chapters, hit subscribe, because this channel refuses the myth that one operating system fits 8 billion users. Let's flood the comments. Which chapter slapped you awake, and which one had you saying, "That's literally me"? Like, share, and keep bending the lens until the outliers come into focus.